If you guys want some coins for the new Fut Fantasy promo, please check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself 5% off your order. This supports the channel greatly. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some new custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-2. Now I've actually changed these quite a lot and it plays out quite a lot differently compared to how I usually use this formation, but I've honestly really been enjoying these changes, so I hope you guys do like them. But yeah, just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, as that does really help with the YouTube search. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay guys, so starting off with the custom tactics. For the defensive style, I like to use this on balance still. This is just because you get the greatest control over your defense, where you're able to press when you need to press manually, and then you're also able to be a bit more conservative when you need to be, so it does give you the very much needed control in your defense. Now moving on to the defensive width, I've upped this to about 48. The reason for this is primarily we still want to be quite narrow, so we don't want that too much above 50. The reason we want to be narrow is because it stops those passes through the middle, but the reason I've upped the width a little bit is because I noticed there was a little bit too much space down the wings for my opponents, so I just upped that to 48 and we've got a bit better coverage, so it works a lot better for the current state of the game. Now moving on to the depth guys, I'm using this on 65. The reason for this is so we can win the ball slightly higher up the pitch and we keep a slightly higher defensive line. This is so we don't constantly get pushed back all the time, but at the same time our depth isn't crazy high to the point where we're always getting through balled, so it's quite aggressive with the depth, but at the same time it's not too much. Now moving on to build up play, I very much do suggest you guys using balance. This is because it gives you the greatest control over your team. If you have it on something like fast build up or slow build up for example, your team starts doing things that you wouldn't normally want them to do and they move a little bit weird. Fast build up is okay when the gameplay is good, but it very rarely is, so balance is definitely the most consistent one to use. Now moving on to chance creation guys, I suggest you use direct passing because this allows your strikers to bunch up to the defenders of course, which is very overpowered in this game. You also get the best movement out of the players because if you look at the diagram you can see the white dots, which are your attackers. They are moving around to break through that defensive line, so it suits the meta of this game very well. Now moving on to the attacking width, this is one of the major changes I've made. Now I used to use this on quite a low width, so I'd have this on like 40 or something. So I've upped this to 57 because I've changed my player instructions, which I will show you, and it means I will have to get extra width out of my cams. So by having the width on 57, it means the cams push out a little bit wider to add the width to the attack. This is very important for something I'm going to show you guys later on in the video. Now moving on to players in box guys, I'm currently using this on 6. This is so we can get some players into the box to create chances, but at the same time we're not overcommitting our entire team to the point where we do get counter-attacked. So it is nice and balanced, but at the same time we still get a lot of players into the box. For corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because I do have a corner kick set piece tutorial that you guys can check out in the top right hand corner of the screen, which requires this to be on 1. Now for the players you want to use guys, in the 2 striker positions I suggest going for a bit of a balance between the two, where you have more of a clinical finisher in one of the striker positions and then more of a creative player in the other. This is so you have like a creative finisher dynamic, and it does do very well for the variety and it allows you to create a lot of different attacks. It's very important you don't have 2 absolute trucks up front, otherwise you might struggle a little bit. Now for the wide cams guys, you're just going to want to use like winger style players with pace, players that are agile, that can dribble, cross shoot, basically do a bit of everything. You don't want to use slow clunky players here, especially ones that can't pass, because you'll find it very difficult to create anything, especially as these cams are your most creative players in the team. Now for the 2 CDMs guys, you should go for a balance between the 2. So in the left CDM spot I actually use a more defensive minded CDM. This is somebody that's going to be primarily better at defending but is still capable of going forward when we need them to. The best work rate you can have for this player is a medium high work rate, because this means that this player is going to be more focused on their defensive work than their attacking work, which is very important for the overall balance. Now, in the other position, we have a more attacking-minded CDM, somebody that is going to be able to assist us going forward, and somebody that might lack just a little bit in their defense. So they're going to be a very well-rounded player, really, and if you can get it, a high work rate means you're going to get the maximum contribution in attack and defense, because they're going to be doing a bit of both. But for example, this Pogba is a high medium and he still works fine. So work rates are something you should aim for, but don't stress too much if you can't get them. For the fullbacks, I like to go for a bit of a balance between the two, where I have one that is a bit better on the ball in Roberto Carlos, and then I have one that is a bit more defensively solid in Cafu. This is just a personal preference thing where I like to have a bit of a balance between the two, but if you guys want to use 2 attacking fullbacks or 2 defensive fullbacks, that is completely up to you. As for the centre backs, on the left hand side you're going to want a left footer, of course, and on the right hand side a right footer, but yeah, there's not really too much to say about them. You just want them to be as good as you can get them, really. Now for player instructions, guys, this is where I've made quite a few changes to what I normally use, so it might play out a little bit differently to the to what you expect, especially if you guys have been watching my videos for a while and you have been using my 4222. It is a little bit different, so I'm going to ask you guys to let me explain, and it does go hand in hand with why we have that higher width in the custom tactics. So for the 2 strikers, we have very basic instructions on them. We just have stay central and mixed attack. The reason for this is getting behind makes them feel very disconnected from the rest of the team, so I've stopped using it really in this formation because I don't really like it. It makes you force the play, and honestly, especially against those top end opponents, it really doesn't work too well. You need these guys to get more involved in the build up, which is why mixed attack is a lot better. The only important thing is that you have them staying central, because you don't need them drifting off to the wide areas. We've already got 2 cams on each side which will cover those wider areas, so we need them to stay central and keep their position. Now for the 2 cams, this might come as a surprise to you guys, but we just completely leave them alone. Now a lot of the times I would use get into the box for cross on both of these players, but honestly I've been really enjoying using this formation with having these on default settings. The reason for this is, like I said, I've upped the width on the attack in the custom tactics, so I don't always want these players running into the box for the cross. Sometimes I want them to sit a little bit wider just so we can retain possession and have a bit of width. So we're still going to have those 2 strikers in the box all the time, but at the same time, guys, the balanced crossing runs means they will sometimes make those runs into the box. It just means they're not always going to do it, so it's added a bit of a balance, and honestly having them on default settings has given me a lot more variety in my attacks, and it has worked out quite a lot better. Now moving on to both CDMs, guys, this is one of the major changes I've made, but it's why some of the work rates do carry me in this situation, is I have them both on cover center and then default now. What I used to do is I'd have one on stay back, cut passing lanes and cover center. This was the more defensive player in Jorginho, but what I've done now is I have them both on cover center and I let their work rates basically carry them and make them do what they should be doing by themselves. So basically Jorginho with his medium high work rate, even though he's on balanced attack, he's not going to be too aggressive. He's not always going to go flying forward, so it's going to work out okay. So we can actually afford to have him on balanced attack and sometimes commit him a bit further forward, because we know he's got the work rates to help us defend if we lose out, so it does work very well. And then on the right CDM, again the same settings, but that high medium work rate means he's going to be a little bit more focused on attacking, so he's going to be our more attacking player, and at the same time he's still okay defensively to the point where he can assist us. Jorginho with his medium high work rate is obviously going to be more defensive minded, which is why I suggest going for a balance between the two, because even on these balanced instructions the team isn't too attacking minded. Moving on to the left back and the right back, I actually now have them both on stay back while attacking and overlap. What I used to do is I'd have this left back on balanced attack and overlap, but the reason I don't do this anymore is because this left CDM in Jorginho, I always used to have him staying back, but now I have him contributing to the attack a little bit, so we can afford to keep this fullback back because we already have enough players going forward. We've basically made a trade-off where Roberto Carlos will now stay back and Jorginho might contribute a bit more to the attack, so it's a little bit of a trade-off there, and this kind of explains why I use the higher attacking width. So I used to use this left back to add extra width to my attack, right? But now because I have him staying back, I have to up my attacking width a little bit. it. This is so the cams will also take those wider areas, and it will lower the need to have that fullback going forward and adding that width. So that is why we've done that. I know it might be a little bit confusing, but I'm sure a few of you guys will know what I'm on about here. So basically, the cams will now take these wider positions when we need to, and there's not really much need for that fullback to go flying forward. We also have another passing option in Jorginho because he is also going to be allowed to go forward a little bit. So we've basically made some trade-offs from what we normally use. So yeah, both fullbacks stay back while attacking and overlap, and the centre-backs and the goalkeeper, we just completely leave them alone because there is no need to change their instructions. But yeah guys, they're my custom tactics and the player instructions for the 4-2-2-2. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.